I've always drawn like anything. Like I think my style is it's quite a lot of things at once, but I feel like now I've spent the past couple years more like finding myself and being more comfortable as an artist, and I think doing it as a job, it's evolved into a lot of reflection on my experiences. So I take a lot of inspiration from things like nature, from my own identity, also from a lot of things from my childhood and how they intertwine. My sister's fiance gave me one of these really dodgy eBay tattoo kits that they used to sell at a market. So I take a lot of inspiration from things like nature, from my own identity, also from a lot of things from my childhood and how they intertwine. So there's a lot of fairy tales and like mythical themes within that. And I really like this way that you can attach or connect queerness and stories and like fairy tale and folklore and mythical things. And I think being a trans person and like choosing your own, I guess, appearance, or like we're kind of seen as these creatures that not everyone believes in. It's like weird little creatures and stuff. I was talking to someone and then they were talking about hags and trolls, and I was like, it's quite nice how you look back at like the origins of these things, and like I really believe that like these like weird little creatures that you read about in fairy tales were probably based on like all the like introverts and like all the autistics just like off doing their weird little shit like gremlins. Through the way that I started, which was offering tattoos for the trans community, it's an affirming process because as someone who always had like a lot of body dysphoria and didn't like the way my body looked, being able to decorate it and I guess make it unique was helpful to me in terms of like getting through those bad periods. And I think my own tattoos and willingness to do my own tattoos has always come out of times of having really bad dysphoria. Having something in your body that you love and that is beautiful in whatever way, or maybe not even beautiful, but just like something that means something to you. A lot of mine were kind of like markings of like really horrible things that I'd gone through, and a way of like marking that time and reclaiming it, I think. Essentially, trauma informed tattooing, or being trauma informed, is in my situation, say, anyone that walks into the room, I will treat them as if they have been through something traumatic, basically. I think it's a way of doing it where I think, especially for my client base and as a trans person who has survived a lot of things, and knowing that the queer trans community it's very highly likely that people have been through some kind of trauma. So I think it's very important to not have to ask, to just be aware. And so I deal with that that's where consent led comes into it. Firstly, I create a better environment to deal with that. So that's why I work alone. I feel like it's safer for a lot of trans people to not be in eyes. I think body dysphoria is very common among us, and so I think it's really important to have no one else present, so there's a lot of privacy. So that's one step of it. Even things down to noise levels and even smells. I think a big intersection of my work is also having a lot of neurodivergent people, and I myself also am. So I feel like it's really important to make the environment as not overstimulating. And throughout the actual tattooing process, it's important to say, like, okay, are you comfortable? Are you ready? I'm going to do this. If I'm changing something with my machine, I'll tell them so they don't like what you're doing. Tattooing is effectively inflicting trauma on someone's body. You know, it's a pain process. It can be triggering for people who maybe have a trauma regarding their body. So if when I touch someone in a certain way, it's like, okay, I'm going to hold you like this, and I'm going to have to put my arm here, and if I touch you in any way that makes you uncomfortable, just let me know. I think it's just really important to make sure that that person is comfortable and seen, heard, and held in that situation. Nice to have all trans up in here. And also mostly because one of the things that I think is kind of essential when you're in here is like having stuff to look at when you're getting tattooed, which is why it's a bit bonkers. And like stuff on the ceiling as well. And like I made this because I like when I was little, I had one of these, and I would just like sit and stare at it for ages, and it moves and stuff. And I just think it's like when you're getting tattooed, I feel like you kind of go into this mode of like it's like a subconscious thing where you're you're kind of doing that thing where you're staring at something, but you're not. It's a very, like, it triggers, like, the subconscious, I think. So I think if you've got something to focus on, it can make it a little bit easier. So it's more making sure there's loads to look at and that those things are really affirming for the people in here. I only tattoo trans and queer people. It's really beautiful to have this small community because I don't think there's a massive array of trans artists within the tattoo industry because it is an industry that is so like image focused. I don't feel like it's as accessible to people. It can also be like really difficult to get into financially if you don't have someone you know that's doing it. It can be really, really difficult. And I think the only reason I got here is just pure luck and having works, you know, my way up for free and doing like that. It's all thanks to like the community. But it's difficult because tattoos are so, they cost money, and also it's something that's forever. It's not as simple as just like going to an artist and supporting them in that way. But I feel like, again, like the internet is such a powerful tool, and like all of our careers and kind of our art is on the internet. Like sharing it is such a powerful thing. Telling your friends about it, like just talking about it. It doesn't have to be like actually go and get a tattoo. It can just be like, look at this person's work, they're amazing. Like, you know, someone that's looking to get a tattoo, or like they have an opportunity going, like prioritize giving it to like trans people or people of color, you know, like people within the community. And that's a lot of what I'd like to do as well. It's like uplifting people who don't have as much of a platform as others, you know, and just getting their work seen. You know, this is what the whole ethos with It's for Tats and the beginning of community fundraising was, that you never know who's going to see it. Like, you share this page, like you might get someone who's like a rich, you know, balling queer, and like they're just gonna, and that happens, you know. You get people who are just like, oh, that's so cool, and they just give like 100 quid. But I think just the power of the internet and utilizing its tools, which is just sharing things around and getting like the word out, is really, really important. And it's such a fundamental way to actually support other artists, like beyond tattooing as well, like in any single way. Just using it, just uplifting people, just bigging people up.